Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Slimming Surgeon podcast. I am your host, Dr. Kandace Kichler. Today is a little solo episode as I'm going to talk to you about my experience with breast augmentation. In other words, I'm giving you my breast aug or my implant story. We're going to start from the very beginning. I am a 12, 13-year-old little girl, freckle-faced, growing up in Alabama. I basically just didn't get boobs. Like everyone else was getting boobs, but I didn't. I was flat as a board. My mom was pretty small-chested, so it wasn't unexpected, but it was definitely something that I was like, why is everyone else buying bras? Why is everyone else filling out their shirt and I'm not? And I'm the oldest of three sisters. So obviously, I didn't have anyone to look up to, big sister-wise, and my cousins were kind of distant. So, I didn't have them to ask as well. And so this was the beginning. Of course, just, not really progressing. I looked up how to get big boobs. I probably Googled breast enhancement pills a million times. And then I started wearing padded bras. I would scour the shelves like JCPenney, Walmart, Dillard's, and then finally I upgraded to Victoria's Secret. And let me tell you, the padded bras at Victoria's Secret are and were out of this world. The bombshell 2+ cup sizes, I was first in line when these things came out. And this kind of lasted for years and years. I didn't get the courage, nor was it really a thing to get your boobs done when I was growing up. So this lasted for years and years. I went to college, flat-chested as ever. And on top of padded bras, I started buying these things that I referred to as chicken cutlets. Now, as you can imagine, it looked like a freaking chicken cutlet. It was jelly, like a silicone thing that you would stick in your bra to make you look like you had cleavage or that you had a bust. And that became my life story. That plus padded bras. Sometimes I would wear 2 bras. It was a whole thing. And I'm telling you this because this is how intensely I focused on this, and this is how important this was to my self-confidence. Everyone I think has something that they think about or worry about or something that bothers them when they look in the mirror. Maybe some people don't, and that's great. More power to you. But most people do. And for me, that was my thing. I have other flaws, obviously, but the boobs, I just couldn't deal. So I went through undergrad, flat-chested. I remember one time a boyfriend broke up with me and got back with his ex who had a boob job. And I was like, he's a boob guy. It was the boobs. Probably that's not really the case, but I was convinced. So, I did a lot of research through the years, got into medical school, saw breast implants being placed, and eventually got up the courage to go on a consultation. I decided, you know what? It's time. Let's do this. Side note, I had an umbilical hernia which is a belly button hernia. So a little outpouching of my belly button. I had that fixed before I went to college, and then it came back. So when I was in medical school, it was back, and I was like, before I go into residency, I should probably get this fixed again, so it's not something I have to think about or worry about. And I was like, this is my opportunity. I'm already having surgery. I need to find someone who can do my belly button and my boobs at the same time. So I went on this journey. I went on 3 different consultations. This is back in Alabama. So this is Mobile, Alabama. I'm going on consultations. I'm this medical student, quizzing the surgeons, can you do my hernia too? I had 2 people basically reject me and say, I could do it, but there's XYZ reasons why you should have a different surgeon do it. I'll do your breast. We'll have a general surgeon do your umbilical hernia. And then to me, as a medical student who was really poor at the time, I was just thinking, okay, so I'm going to pay for 2 surgeons, 2 anesthesias, like all these things that were in fact what would have happened. Finally, I went on a 3rd consultation with a guy who was relatively new out of training at the time, but came from a great training program. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll do your hernia and your breast aug at the same time. And 1 recovery, 1 anesthesia bill, 1 surgeon, all the things. Not only did he agree to do that, but the guy spent time with me. He listened to my concerns. He listened to what I wanted to see, what I wanted to look like. And he was really attentive, which the other 2 surgeons were just like, okay, yeah, you need implants and you're so flat chested. We might be able to get you to a B. And, as someone who's never had boobs, a B does not sound that enticing. I was like, I want boobs. Like, I'm not here for the conservative girl special. So this guy also was like, I think we can get a little bit bigger. And we just had a great discussion. That was what sold me on my surgeon. And I think, now as a surgeon doing these types of surgeries, I really think about that, because the way that I connected with this guy, which I'm sure he probably just treated me like any other patient, was really what helped me make that decision, on top of the fact that he could also do the belly button. So that was, how it all went about. I went through life really having confidence issues due to the size of my breasts. Like, I didn't feel as womanly as some of my other friends. I wasn't able to wear cute tops, cute dresses. Wearing a bikini was like a whole nother situation, because I would literally find padding from other bras or other tops to put in my bikini top. It was a real nightmare. So by the time I, got to medical school and made this decision, it was like, I was ready. And meeting a surgeon who was able to kind of meet me in the middle with my goals was also really key. So if you're considering doing it, I would recommend, going on multiple consultations as well, because it really helped me realize who was going to care about me afterwards and who was going to really do a good job versus who I was probably just another number to. And that still exists today. So that's one takeaway I want you guys to get from this story. The whole process, the next step was obviously I had to pay for this, which I said I was in medical school. So I was literally living off my student loans. As a medical student, you can get pretty savvy with your finances. And I was able to find an online financing company that gave me a loan for this. I put in that I was, going to be paying off some medical bills, and I probably had 0 credit at the time, but just enough so that I got approved. And I was able to get my loan for my surgery and pay it in monthly payments over the next 3 or 4 years or something crazy like that. So if there's a will, there's a way. And that's what I learned with that process. So I got a loan, I, got a surgeon. Telling my family was kind of similar to when I got a belly button ring. It was like, oh, by the way, I'm getting my boobs done. Cause I'm a really cut and dry person, and I didn't want there to be much discussion about it. This is what I'm doing. This is when it's going to happen. Can you pick me up from surgery? And of course, my mom said yes. So that was kind of the beginning process. Back to the consultation. When I was deciding, size or shape or what type of implants, to be quite frank, it was a financial decision because saline implants were cheaper. Now as a surgeon, I realized that also my age at the time, I think I would have been maybe I was 21, but at the time, or even still today, if you're under 21, you have to get saline implants unless you have an anatomic reason to have silicone. So I opted towards saline, went to surgery. I had surgery in a surgery center, which was a great experience. And I, it was the same day type of thing. I had the surgery. I didn't have a lot of pain. My mom drove me home, and boom, I had my boobs. recovery was not bad. I would say I took pain medication, like Percocet or something like that for a couple days. My boyfriend at the time helped me recover because you're not really supposed to use your arms a lot or use your chest muscles the first couple of days, maybe even weeks after the procedure. And so he helped me get out of bed, wash my hair, all the things after my mom went back home. But again, pain was not that crazy. When you first get breast implants, they sit really high and they're going to be really swollen. So I had a lot of swelling and they looked a lot bigger than they ended up being, which was good and bad. I mean, it was fine because it's just naturally part of the recovery process. But just like lip filler, when you get used to the swelling and then the swelling goes down, you kind of miss that size. So basically, ever since I've had my implants, I've always wished I would have been able to go a little bit bigger. But like I said, with all of the surgeons that I consulted with, I had like a really small chest, a really, really flat chest. So, they said they did as much as would fit in my anatomy, which being someone who does this now, I can see how that's possible. So again, recovery, pain medication for a couple of days. I needed a little bit of help getting in and out of bed because you're not, pushing with your arms or using chest muscles, a little help with my shampoo, but who doesn't love a dry bar moment? And it really wasn't bad. You go back to exercising after a couple weeks. I wore a non-wire bra for a month as my surgeon recommended. And then I was able to go back to wired bras. I was really into fitness at the time, so that working out component was key for me. And I didn't have a lot of downtime. Like looking back, I don't even remember taking that break from exercise. So I know that can also be a barrier to people who want to go through cosmetic surgery and they worry like, oh my gosh, I've gotten into such amazing shape. Like if I stop now or if I take a break, I'm going to lose all my progress. You're not going to lose your progress. Like I know, yes, I'm speaking as someone who had this surgery when I was in my 20s, but it's true no matter what age you are, if you have a great physical capacity and physical fitness level when you go into surgery, not only is your surgery recovery going to be that much better, but you'll bounce back. So rest assured, if you're thinking about doing something and your physical fitness level or the inability to stop is holding you back, don't let it. Do what's right for you and your overall happiness and confidence level. So, again, going back to the surgery, it was a great experience. I'm really happy that I did it. How did it affect me afterwards? I feel like it definitely boosted my confidence. I was able to wear many different clothes options that were like not at all available to me before. Like imagine a top that has like the underwire kind of shown, like a corset top or anything that has cups built in. Like if those existed, they were not for me before I had my breast dog. So afterwards, being able to wear cute clothes, filling out tops and not like wearing that my chicken cutlets were going to fall out onto the floor was a really great thing and made it really rewarding. My implants were placed, under the muscle and they went through an incision in the fold of my breast. So I really didn't have scars, There are scars, but they faded to almost nothing. So wearing a bikini, I was super confident doing that. And I would say it was really life-changing. Like I am a much different person with the level of confidence that I have since that procedure than I was before. Like I was always so scared, of what I looked like, of what men would think of me when I didn't have a top on. Like there was just a lot of layers to that situation. And, one quick surgery later, it's cured. So if you're thinking about this, it's definitely, can be a really good idea. Now, I've had 2 babies since my breast augmentation, and people always worry or say that they need to wait to do their breast until after they've had babies. As someone who's gone through the process, I've breastfed for a very short period of time with both of my kids. And, I've gained and lost the pregnancy weight since having my implants placed. I would say, as a person who's had this experience as well as a surgeon, I'm so glad that I did it before. I feel as though my breasts have maintained a good shape, as well as the skin elasticity and just like the overall, shape of my nipples and lack of stretch marks. I really attribute that to having had the breast augmentation before I had kids. I see people today who haven't had breast augmentation, which is fine. I'm not saying that everyone needs to have this procedure done, but when you do go through that lactation process of, your breast filling up with milk and then, feeding your children, all these things, it really takes a toll. Those hormones, just that physical change to the breast, it takes a toll on your anatomy. And if you've got that implant there, or if you've already had that first lift done, the shape of your new breast, I think, just holds better. Like, I think your body expands in that 3-dimension around the implant instead of up, down, side to side, and stretching everything out so that when you're done with lactating or breastfeeding, or, the weight changes that you may go through with life, you're not left with deflation. So I feel very fortunate that I did go through this before breastfeeding. And yes, I was able to breastfeed. I had other reasons why I decided not to breastfeed for long periods of time, those including going back to work really soon after having my babies, the amount of milk that I produced, which was not enough for my ravishing boys. They're like savages. They want to drink around the clock still to this day. So breastfeeding just wasn't really for me in general, but I was able to. So that's always a concern. If I get implants, I'm not going to be able to breastfeed. Not true. Yes, of course, there's a risk that could happen, but it's low and it's also not predictable. So had I had a boob job and then not been able to lactate, we can't say for sure that it would be the implants that caused that. Maybe I wasn't able to lactate before having the implants. So that's always, something that I try to reassure to patients. Nipple sensation, it can change with breast augmentation. You can get, bleeding on the inside. There's a lot of different risks and things that can happen with having the procedure, but overall, the risk of these things is really low. And again, if it's something that's on your mind every day, I think it's worth exploring. I think it's worth going on a consultation or two, looking at the surgeon that you're interviewing with, looking at their before and after photos, talking to them about your goals. A red flag to me is when you go on a consultation and the surgeon says, I know what you want. I'm going to make you a certain size based off what I think. I think that's really the wrong way to go about it. I really like to listen to my patients. And if a woman tells me I want to look natural and I want to have a very small implant, we make her look natural and we give her a very small implant. And I think that is, something that's so important and really builds that confidence and trust with the patient and the surgeon. So keep that in mind and kind of put that in the back of your head or on your list of questions. If you do go on a consultation, listen to the person that's going to be doing the procedure. Do they already have it figured out, or do they tell you what they think they're going to do before you even open your mouth, or are they open to having discussions? And that's really, how I was able to choose my surgeon, because we did have these discussions, these frank discussions. Other things, I think the way that I fit in clothes, my confidence, I just think, my overall satisfaction with my body without clothes is really improved since the surgery. So if you're considering it, definitely get those consultations and think about it. Where am I going to go from here? My implants are now about 10 or 11 years old. I got them in 2012. So they're just at 12, 13 years, whatever. I can't do math. They're 10 or 11 years old. And a lot of people always ask me, I don't want to get implants because I'm going to have to change them out every 10 years. That's not true. Your warranty, so like the product manufacturer warranty, is likely only 10 years, which means if something happens, if they rupture, if they burst, if they leak, if you have some type of issue with them during that 10-year process, then yeah, the manufacturer would cover it. You'd probably get a free set of implants, possibly some money towards your procedure. But if they're not broke, don't fix them. So mine are completely fine. I do want to upsize them at this point. Like I do feel like there is some laxity and some change in the shape since I had 2 kids, but it's not something that other people notice. It's more so a personal decision. Like I kind of want to just have a larger breast. So I'll be upgrading mine. And I will also be switching to like a silicone gel probably within the next year. And that's just a personal preference. They're not broken. They're not leaking. I haven't had something called a capsular contracture, nor do I feel that I have any systemic symptoms like breast implant illness due to my implants, which I've had again for over 10 years. But I just think, if it's going to make me happy and it's going to improve my appearance and make me feel even more confident, then why not? Also, I have easy access to these procedures, of course, so that does count for something. But I'm going to be upgrading mine soon. But if you have them yourself and they're not causing you any issues, you do not have to replace them every 10 years. That is not true. And you can decide when or if ever you do want to change them out. I will say I do see people who, after having kids, they really actually need a lift despite having implants, or maybe they just have had kids and now they need a lift, but also want to do a lift with implants. That's definitely a good option for you. There's a lot of things that we can do as part of a breast procedure after kids, or just not after kids, just in general, from placing an implant, doing a lift plus an implant, or even transferring fat to the breast. So, to kind of put an educational spin on this podcast, which was more like a personal, here's my story, there are a lot of options. So if you're unhappy with the shape, the size, the way they feel, the way they sit in clothing, I think it's worth getting a consultation so that you know your options and you can make that decision when you're ready. When you're ready could be a financial decision. It could be I just had a kid, I've got to take care of the baby. They're like, I'm still nursing, or I'm holding them on my chest all the time. When it's physically right for you might be another decision, or I'm competing in a bikini competition and I have every single muscle like totally shredded and visible, but I want to have boobs. Maybe you should look into getting an implant. So there are a lot of different things that we can do, a lot of different options. Breast surgery in general is extremely safe. Implants themselves have been around for many years, and they're only improving as far as the safety standards of the implants. The capsules that the implants are held in are thicker than ever. So the chance of them rupturing and leaking out, quote unquote, chemicals into your body is extremely rare and extremely low. And I've done another podcast on the subject of breast implant illness with Dr. Gabrielle Lyon that you can check out on her page. But, the risk of that is very low as well. It can be real, and I do treat those patients, and I am happy to do explant surgery for people, but I don't want the general public to believe that breast implant illness is guaranteed if you get a set of implants, because that's definitely not the case. Again, look into your options, seek out different surgeons. The breast augmentation for me was literally life-changing, and it really not only opened doors for me clothing wise, but I think career wise, as it gave me the confidence to, reach for my goals and do the things that I otherwise might have shied away from. So if you're listening and this sounds at all like you, look into it, make some consultations, send me a DM. I'd be happy to talk with you. We could do a FaceTime consultation. I do free consults over FaceTime for people who are out of the area, and I'd be happy to go over your options with you. So again, look me up, Slimming Surgeon on Instagram, but also you can call our office or send a text at 561 624-7777. And I think I'm going to wrap it up. This is the Slimming Surgeon podcast. Please, if you like this episode, subscribe to my podcast, leave me a 5-star review. I don't want any other stars, 5 stars only review, and send me a DM if you have any questions or any ideas for a future podcast. Thank you.